Chicks Clowet, good evening. My name is Lynn and I'm an addict. First, I want to thank Tukashla, my creator, for keeping me alive and clean. And I want to honor my ancestors that chose to survive. I want to thank NA for showing me how to live with or without drugs. I want to say welcome to the newcomer. My heart is full right now. My clean date, let me say this. I got 32 years, 10 months, and 14 days. I got here when I was 21 years old in 91, and it was you guys that taught me how to love myself, and you loved me until I could love myself. And when I got here in 91, I want to say my heart is full. And I just want to acknowledge my Native people sitting in this room. For years, I felt like I was in Narcotics Anonymous by myself. I just want to thank you guys for being here. You let me know not quitting 5 minutes before the miracle was worth it. I get to see you here. I get to be here with you. Narcotics Anonymous is a wonderful program. I didn't know it when I got here because I was madder than a wet cat. I had a mother that was a Yakima tribal member who was taken to boarding schools and stripped of her language and her culture. I didn't know that till I was 12 years old. And I was raised by Grandma Cat, who was a slave. Her name was Catherine, but we called her Grandma Cat, who dipped, snuff, sold corn liquor, was the mother of the church. And these women had untreated trauma. And they didn't play nice. I didn't look like everybody else. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that they didn't like me in the projects in New York. They didn't accept me there, and they didn't accept me on the reservation. A little bit too light, a little bit too bright, a little bit too dark, a little bit too this. But I know that's not true today. I know that I look exactly like my ancestors. And Narcotics Anonymous has allowed me to do that. I didn't know it when I got here that I was really surviving intergenerational trauma and poverty. That's what I was really trying to live with and above. And Narcotics Anonymous has given me the gift to not let my past dictate my future. I thought I was raised by a pack of wolves. And a lot of people don't understand it, but when you can't trust your mother, who can you trust? So my mother thought it was a bright idea to shoot me up with Woodlands when I was 13 years old and sell me to dope for dope. And so when I got here, I had lost 2 of my babies. And I had got stabbed with an ice pick and found out I was 8 weeks pregnant with my 3rd. And I'd lost my parental rights to those 2 kids. And I struggled because I blamed my mother for everything. And y'all let me know that I wasn't responsible for my disease, but I was responsible for my recovery. And I had to take some accountability for that. I couldn't keep blaming my mother because there came a time when I was copping on my own. Had nothing to do with her. I was a woman child at 12 years old. And I want to say this to the newcomer. We have literature here. The basic text, I would strongly suggest you get it. I had an 8th grade education and I couldn't read when I got here. And I can tell you Narcotics Anonymous has given me, gifts beyond my measure. I couldn't get past the block. I couldn't get past the crack pipe, the 40-ouncer. But what it says and what can I do in our literature, it says the first step to recovery is to stop using. We cannot expect the program to work for us if our minds, bodies, are still clouded by drugs. The thing with me is I got the monkey off my back, but the circus was still in town. Right? Stop using. And there's this wounded little girl who's broken, that's been slept with since the age of 4, with 1,000 forms of fear. And then I got this adolescent that my mom done sold to the Cubans who think she's Carly B and Nicki Minaj to the 10th power. And I got to parent these two in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Newcomer. What I found out when I got here that I didn't know now, that I know now that I didn't know then, is that I didn't know how to share in a general way. I had to come in here at 30 Days Clean and talk about the exact nature of what was going on. Like, I had to share about everything and use about nothing. That meant sharing that I'm 21 years old, I got 30 days clean. Thank you for my little key tag, but I want to know what I'm supposed to do with these men in here with time that just paid me some money and turned dates with me. What am I supposed to do? That's why I got kicked out the other fellowship. They politely circled around me after the meeting and said, you might need to go over here to Narcotics Anonymous. I still share about everything and don't use about nothing to this day. Anything that's affected my recovery is appropriate for me to share in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm glad my predecessors told me that. Because they used to say a lot of stuff I talked about was an outside issue. My mother being in a boarding school, they didn't know what that was. They didn't understand nothing I was talking about. People would get up and walk out the meeting because I was so wounded. Recovery was an inside job for me. We didn't have the step working guide. We didn't have the literature we have today. And I remember the first step and how powerful it was for me because I got to look at how this disease had took my babies away from me, and I suffered with mental illness. They say love is an action word. Sometimes it's a warm hug, and sometimes it's the cold, hard truth. My predecessors didn't care about my feelings because they knew this disease would kill me. They didn't say, we suggest you work the steps to your best of your ability. They said, work the steps or die, motherfucker. They didn't give it to me with no cut. They told me, when the dope man told me to suck his dick for a hit, I need to chase my recovery like I chased that dope. I don't get to come in here and be a glorified dope fiend because you talk to me mean and you hurt my feelings. They didn't care about my feelings. They cared about whether I lived or died, and they were my eyes and ears, and they said, if you want what we got, you do what we do. And it takes work to stay here. You don't get it by osmosis and innate sexually transmitted. Like, they kept it 100 with me. And I'm glad they spoke to me in a language I understood because my attention span was so short. You would turn into womp, 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 womp. Because I wasn't sleeping at night. I was struggling. I suffered in silence in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. When it says life after death, I'm going to tell y'all now, I'm not the perfect recovering addict. I done been to jail clean. I done been to psych units numerous times clean. But the only thing I've done right in 32 years, 10 months, and 14 days is not pick up some dope. That's the one thing I've done perfectly. The sad part about it is, when I first got here, I was so scared because, see, the first step talks about internal unmanageability. For me, recovery was an inside job. The way I seen the world and myself in it was so warped when I got here. I was so ashamed of being an Indian because every hostel I went to, there was pissy, drunk Indians in the doorways. And sometimes that pissy, drunk Indian was my mother. And I used to be so ashamed until one of y'all Choctaw Indian woman was here when I got here. She said, what do you mix with? I said, I think I'm Indian. What little did I know. The reason why my mom didn't get me enrolled is because her tribe gave her away before the ICWA Act. And she was angry at the tribe, so she didn't enroll me. And I didn't get enrolled till I had about 2 years clean. More will be revealed, let me tell you. I want to thank anyone in here that's doing H&I. That same mom that shot me up with dope went to prison, and H&I brought the message of Narcotics Anonymous to her in the Washington State Women's Purdy Penitentiary, and I was able to spend over a decade in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous with my mother, and I was given that spiritual principle of forgiveness. I thank God for the steps. My sponsor said there's something that's going to happen between that pen and paper that can't happen between your mind and your mouth. See, I'm a criminal dope fiend. I'll convince you, then I'll convince me, and I'll try to convince everybody else the way I think, feel, and believe. It's cool. But I had a sponsor that would say things to me like, Lynn, if you know everything, what you calling me for? Click. Lynn, if you make that okay, what else you going to make okay? It says here in our basic text, I love the literature. It says, sometimes our disease will manifest itself in ways that have nothing to do with dope. And I didn't know applying the steps to all areas of my life. That's why I thank Narcotics Anonymous for helping me stay clean and showing me how to live with or without drugs. Abstinence versus recovery is two different things. And I've had to work to stay here because my behaviors have backed me up in corners where I almost didn't get out clean. I got into a relationship and I thought he sat on cloud nine and pierced perfume, and he said, Lynn, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. What I heard is you don't love me, but you will later. Because see, I'm suffering in silence. I'm sleeping at night. My baby's crying. I'm in a paralysis. I can't move a muscle. And I'm seeking outside help, but until they sent me to a Native American, culturally specific therapist, was I able to tell her what was happening. And she said, Lynn, you're having body memories. Your body's reliving something your mind don't remember. But I wasn't going to tell nobody because I thought y'all was going to take my babies. I suffered with mental illness for a long time in these rooms. And today, I'm telling you newcomers, that ain't an outside issue. We have literature around that today. And my disease would manifest itself because see, anything that changes the way I feel, a person, place, or thing outside myself changes the way I feel. When I got here, they said no more playground playmates and playthings. Well, I was married to a cholo from East LA that drove a lowrider and sold dope in Portland, and he would come to meetings and tell you guys not to hug. Look, let me say it how he used to say it. Don't none of you pinchy mayatas hug my wife. He put a cigarette out in my face in speaker meetings and stuff. Like I had to choose, my recovery had to come first. And I had to give up those people, places, and things in order to stay here. No more playground playmates and playthings. My triggers weren't really the things outside of me, but it was the people close to me, my brothers, my sisters, my mother. That's who I got high with. The so-called husband I had that was a cholo, gang member. And I had to give it up in order to stay here. And I remember being in relationships, I ain't gonna call them relationships, they were battleships. And I went to jail clean because I had my baby in July and she had hers in December, and it was a newcomer, and we were sitting in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And you wanna talk about traditions and applying the traditions. See, I need to tell you guys, these steps and traditions, you could say them, but until you apply them and internalize them and put them into action, they really don't mean nothing. And for me, I'm a hard learner. So I learned from experience, and my behaviors, like I said, would back me in the corners. I didn't almost get out clean, like 6 months pregnant, sitting at the Justice Center because I done kicked in his door on an Easter Sunday with the newcomer in there. I done caught him. And I'm in jail clean. And I had to make a decision. Lynn, what you gonna do? And thank God for the newcomer. They stuck me in a cell with a newcomer who was going through withdrawals from heroin, and she's sick and there's only one toilet, and they take her to court. And I'm sitting there before I came to that holding cell. I'm getting ready to go do a speedball, and I'm killing him and her. But after that newcomer showed me the exact nature of my disease, and are you in the mood for that sweaty, clammy, thrown up? Creator knows I'm a visual person. And I thought to myself, as soon as she went out that door, I remember looking out that little square window, that little one they got. And I said, I don't care if he fucks a farm animal, I'm not getting loaded no matter what. And I remember that step working guide coming out, because we didn't have it then, and applying those steps and answering those dots and saying I'm powerless over his name and my life is unmanageable. And then to get to the second step and realize clean, I remember my sponsor said, Lynn, if you've done the third step, the only thing, if you really turned your will and your life over to care of God, the only thing you're running is your mouth. Do the fourth step, do a fifth step, and I realized it had nothing to do with him. See, the steps will change you without your permission. It's like spiritual surgery. So now when I did this fifth step, now I'm finding out it wasn't about him. It was about my low self-esteem, low self-worth, abandonment issues, wanting to be loved. Oh my God, it got real deep. And what happened was I would lose myself to be with you. Oh, I didn't know who my daddy was. My stepfather was a pedophile. I didn't know who my dad was. And I want to thank Jerry C. and Harry, may you rest in peace, because they gave me the courage to go back to New York at 8 years clean and go do that inner child work with my mother. And I found my dad. And because of Narcotics Anonymous, I had my dad in my life for 10 years of my recovery. You know, it's about healing here. I had to learn how to heal in here. I could look good on the outside, but I'd be tore up from the floor up on the inside, like the mask had to go. And I remember thanking Creator that I get to go meet my dad, you know. And I want to share this. There's people in this room today, and I need to talk about this. It says in our basic text on page 102 in the 6th edition, more will be revealed. Often we face some type of crisis during our recovery, such as the death of a loved one, financial difficulties, or divorce. Blech. These are realities of life, and they don't go away just because we get clean. Some of us, even after years of recovery, found ourselves jobless, homeless, penniless. We entertained the thought that staying clean was not paying off, and the old thinking of stirred up self-pity, resentment, and anger, no matter how painful life's tragedies can be for us. One thing is clear, we must not get loaded no matter what. And my predecessor said there's going to come a time in your recovery where no human force can relieve your pain and your obsession to use. You're going to have to rely on something greater than yourself. Trust me, if you ain't got a turn, you'll get a turn. Stick around. And I remember 2013, my son goes to prison. My daughter is in the middle of a sex trafficking federal case as a witness at 16 years old. And I have a brain injury. I'm in a car accident. And I'm wondering, where are the people that I got clean with? I'm way out in Southeast. They're taking me to a meeting, my son. They don't look like me. What little do I know, it says here, we grow through pain and recovery and often find that such a crisis is a gift, an opportunity to experience growth by living clean. I go to this meeting and these newcomers start saying, can you sponsor me? And I'm like, I can't even read. I don't even know social security number. I'm seeing a speech pathologist, a neurologist. Oh yeah, it's a shit show. And I'm wondering, where's my people? Where's my people? Creator didn't send me what I wanted. He sent me what I needed. So I want to tell you newcomers, get a sponsor. We need you. Don't rob us of our recovery. The only way we keep what we have is by giving it away. Them newcomers would come to my house, sit in my house, read their step work, and they don't realize what they were doing for me. They carried me through that brain injury. And some of those people are sitting in the rooms today, some of those newcomers. And I thank them so much, because that's how I'm able to read this literature again. Not only did I have to read it once, but I've had to relearn it again in this program in order to stay here. And it was the newcomer that helped this person that had over 20 years clean. And I could never thank them enough for being there for me. Sponsorship is a two-way street. They thought I was helping them when actually they were carrying me. I thank God for newcomers. The newcomers have saved me more times than I can even imagine since I've been here. The other thing I want to talk about is not accepting your mental illness. Okay? I could accept being a woman. I could accept being a woman of color. I could accept being an addict. I could accept being what they call bisexual. To me, it's not who I love, it's that I love. Let me tell it. Two-spirited, whatever you want to call it. But I remember me not accepting my mental health. And they put me on meds, and I got a few, what I call degrees and a job. And I said, I don't need that no more. I don't need to seek no outside help. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to do this. Well, what happened was I ended up getting with somebody, and he became a stalker, and he kidnapped me in the rooms when I had 16 years clean, and he molested my daughter. And I had a psychotic break. When they say life after death, well, what happened was I didn't want to use, but I didn't want to be here no more, and I was on life support for 2 days. And I want to thank Harry and Jackie J and our predecessors because they bought me a CD from Vito from California. And they sat down with me and they said, Lynn, a lot of people with time have committed suicide and died, and we just don't talk about it. You just happen to live. We don't know what to do, but we love you. And we got this CD from Vito from California. We want you to listen to it. And they loved me and they helped me. And I had to figure out either you're going to save your face or your ass, Lynn. You got to pick one. I had to get humble or be humiliated. I had to be teachable. We have literature now that tells us that over the years, in the IP Living Clean, in times of illness, over the years, I've learned that in order to remain clean, I have to be proactive in dealing with my mental illness. And in order to remain mentally stable, I have to be proactive in my recovery. For me, the disease of addiction and mental health disorder must be dealt with simultaneously. Although the steps are the best defense against relapse, no amount of step work, prayer, meeting attendance, or calling a sponsor will change the fact that I have mental illness. Just because I'm clean doesn't mean that I no longer have mental health issues. The very disorder that affected me when I was using still affects me today. Ultimately, the decision to take medication or not to take medication is a deeply personal one. If you don't have MD behind your name, or even if you did, it says leave it at the door. And we come in here, we're recovering addicts. And I remember people not, like it was a stigma around my mental illness. They knew I was nuttier than batshit. I'm fighting with Harrison in the damn parking lot. For Christ's sake, Jill and them remember that. Like something is wrong with me, right? And now I'm sitting here, I'm coming off life support, I'm mad as hell, and people are judging me unmercifully. People went and try to get my credentials. They don't know that I know. They went to ACBO, MACBO, whatever they call it now. Went to my job. Instead of loving me unconditionally, they judged me because of my mental illness, because I made a conscious decision to die. If you're new here, those that judge don't matter, and those that matter don't judge. Okay? That part. Like I had to learn that because I hit a bottom clean because I couldn't accept my mental illness that I came in here with way before I ever took a hit. My life today, I want to tell you this, because of this program, those 2 kids that were adopted out that I lost my parental rights, I found those babies because of Narcotics Anonymous when I was 20 years clean. I have all 5 of my kids in my life today because of NA. When they told me I'd never see them again, I didn't know where my babies were. Watch what you pray for. Today, I'm a grandmother. You know, today, they trust me with their kids and their house today. You know, I'm a productive member of society today. Not only have I been this is the God shot here. You know, my story is I come from underneath the Burnside Bridge. They got a lot of it gated up now. With nothing but the clothes on my back, and what you see was what you got. Right? But Narcotics Anonymous has availed me to go get a master's degree and get an education Like, get a passport with all them dope charges and felonies. Those things that I couldn't get past the block. Today I travel the world. Like, my horizons are limitless. The only thing stops me is air and opportunity today. I have a sponsor today. I still listen to my sponsor. I still put pen to paper. Recovery still makes sense. Going to meetings still makes sense. Sponsored women still makes sense. Being a service still makes sense. I still do those things. Because I know without it, I'm nothing. NA don't need me. I need NA. In order for me to stay clean one day at a time, I got to keep doing what's suggested. People say, oh, I'm working my program. I'm working a program of Narcotics Anonymous. My damn program almost killed me clean. My best thinking sometimes, because that internal stuff, I'm still trying to live with it and above it. My life today is a life that I could never, ever imagine. Like the unconditional love that I have for myself. Like my belief systems, when I speak my language, my Sahaptin language, I was so angry when I got here. What Narcotics Anonymous has taught me to do is you could be angry, Lynn, but what's the solution? My solution, instead of being mad that my mother's language got taken from organized religion and I'm here standing in the church, mama. Instead of being mad about it, go learn the language and teach it to your grandkids. Instead of being ashamed of being an Indian, become a dancer. Go sit at the drum. Go sit and learn how to bead. Because of this program, my mom relapsed. We don't shoot our wounded. But what's good about it is when she was sitting there taking her last breath, I was there and I was able to play her Wash It songs that she knew as a little girl, our prayer songs on a CD. There's people in this room that walked me through burying her in Chehalis next to her Allah and set her stone and put her away in a good way. I know my mom's at peace today, and one of the things she was proud of is I was clean, because she did a working amends when she was here in Narcotics Anonymous. She took care of them grandkids so that I could get a degree, so I could be self-supporting, declining outside contributions. That's what we do around here. Amends means not just saying we're sorry, but changing the behavior. And Narcotics Anonymous not only gave it to me, but it gave it to my mother too, to where we were able to heal some intergenerational trauma together. That's what I love about Narcotics Anonymous. If we don't grow, we go. Like, you got to be willing to do what it takes and be open-minded. Narcotics Anonymous anonymity means we have an equal opportunity to recover. You guys taught me how to be a service here at Narcotics Anonymous, and now I'm able to be a service amongst my people, like start a foundation and honor my grandmother, do documentaries and be an educator. I share about everything and use about nothing. That's what I learned here. Nothing is an outside issue for me. I come in here and I tell the truth, even if I look like a piece of shit, because I need to be free under God. I cannot suffer in silence in the rooms no more. I always read this at the end of my share, because Narcotics Anonymous is the only place where I've ever felt that I belonged. It says, in NA, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. As members, we have no reason to judge one another. Meetings are a powerful way to carry our message of recovery to an addict who still suffers. New members come to NA with a variety of life problems and are sometimes disruptive in our meetings before they learn what is appropriate in the atmosphere. Our recovery, or our reaction rather, may be one of apprehension, but it's important that we welcome every addict seeking recovery. We remember the care and concern that helped us find a sense of belonging in NA. Our collective attitude should be one of loving acceptance towards all addicts, regardless of any problems they may experience, whether you're a newcomer or have time or years clean in NA. Anonymity means we all have the equal opportunity to recover. So with that being said, I want to say, Shik Stahat Atawishimash. N.A. That means good evening and I love you. Narcotics Anonymous. Thanks for letting me share.